People are being arrested, so it's probably about time that we discuss the laws that just went into effect July 1st and others that are coming about October 1st. Let's start with the laws that went into effect July 1st. The topics are pretty wide-ranging, from environmental concerns all the way through sex trafficking. Some of them don't require a lot of explanation, and we'll just read through it real quick. So Senate Bill 56 is the first one, which is a geoengineering ban on weather. This law bans or establishes a no-fly zone for unauthorized weather modification. It bans releasing chemicals to alter weather patterns, with violators facing felony charges. Makes sense. The second bill is House Bill 209, which is the State Parks Conservation. House Bill 209 keeps our state parks focused on conservation. It blocks creating new activities like pickleball, tennis, golf courses. The goal is to ensure the state parks remain a haven for nature-conscious activities. They're banning pickleball? House Bill 255, also known as Dexter's Law, creates a public-facing database used to shame people who've entered a plea or otherwise been convicted of animal cruelty. In addition, the law creates a multiplier on convictions for aggravated animal abuse. If you're not aware, in Florida, when you're sentenced for a felony charge, the amount of prison time you get is based upon what you score on a DOC, Department of Corrections, templated worksheet. The more you score, the more prison time you get. If you get below 44 points, you're probably not going to prison. So let's look at that. Animal cruelty scores a level 5. That means 28 points. When you add the 1.25 multiplier in there, you still don't meet the threshold of the 44 points required to score prison time. So the judge's sentence is much more up to him or her. But let's say instead of one animal cruelty charge, you got 3. And now you have the 28 points for the first one, 5.4 for each of the 2 additional charges. That puts you at 38.8 points. Multiply that by the 1.25, and now you've crossed over that 44 minimum threshold, and then you subtract 28, and you multiply by 0.75, and that should be the minimal permissible sentence that the judge puts you away for. Now, there can be grounds for downward departure. That's outside of this. We're going to move on. House Bill 279 is about swatting. Right now, if you call 911 and someone responds and there's no injury, it's just abuse of 911. This bill says the police respond and someone is hurt as a result of that response. The person who called 911 in the first place is guilty of a felony. House Bill 289, which is Lucy's law, addresses boating issues. It brings the boating laws in alignment with the motor vehicle laws. The penalties for BUI are now very similar or adopted the laws of DUI. Same thing with reckless boating. Same thing with hit and run. It used to be that the reckless boating stuff was a redheaded stepchild and there wasn't really strict penalties. Now there's mandatory minimum sentences if you kill somebody and you're BUI. House Bill 351 addresses excessive speed. Anything 50 plus miles per hour over the limit, or any traveling at 100 miles per hour or greater with another factor, such as interfering with other traffic, recklessness, or anything like that, and it's a criminal charge. Let's read the law. Dangerous excessive speeding. A person commits dangerous excessive speeding if he or she operates a motor vehicle in excess of the speed by 50 miles per hour or more, or at 100 miles or more in a manner that threatens the safety of other persons or property, or interferes with the operation of any motor vehicle. A person convicted of dangerous excessive speeding shall be punished upon a first of conviction by imprisonment of up to 30 days and a fine of $500, or both. Upon a second conviction, by imprisonment up to 90 days and a fine of $1,000, or both. Any person convicted of a second or subsequent violation of this section that occurs within 5 years after the date of a prior conviction shall have their driver's license revoked for at least 180 days, but up to a year. As of the end of June, so far in Orange County, there has been 178 different citations issued for 50 plus miles per hour over the speed limit. I expect this law is going to impact people that are watching this video. Senate Bill 612 makes it unlawful, punishable as a felony, for a juvenile to deliver fentanyl to another person if it results in their death. In October, House Bill 113 goes into effect, which makes the penalties for fleeing to elude law enforcement more extreme and adds a multiplier onto the score sheet of 1.5. See, now you know about multipliers. House Bill 253 makes it unlawful, punishable as a crime, to put an altering substance on the face of your license plate. Let's take a look. A person may not alter the original appearance of a license plate, whether by manipulation, alteration, defacement, or change of color in any manner. A person may not apply or attach a substance, reflective manner, illuminating device, spray, coating, covering, or other material onto or around any license plate which interferes with the legibility or angular visibility. A person who knowingly violates this section commits a misdemeanor of the second degree. This sounds like the attaching tag not assigned problem. What's the criminal action here? The criminal action is the placement of the material onto the license plate. If you get pulled over by a police officer, how does he know that you placed the material on the license plate and it wasn't your significant other, wasn't your child, wasn't somebody random, it wasn't like that when you got it? How do they establish that? Further, it didn't occur in their presence, and this is not a misdemeanor exception. So how can they issue you a notice to appear in this particular scenario? You have a criminal offense which did not occur in their presence. House Bill 479 has to do with hit and run restitution. Previously, if you were charged with hit and run and you were convicted, the person that you hit could not get restitution because the court said there was not enough of a connection between the crime of leaving the scene and the actual damage to your property. So it's two separate things. You got into an accident and then a crime took place. This is only for property crimes, though. If you were charged with hit and run resulting in injury, the court would allow for restitution. The distinction there is that in the injury case, the court said, well, if you don't call 911, this person might die or their injury might become more severe. So your flight from the scene made it worse or could have made it worse. So therefore, we're going to allow restitution in that scenario. They've opened that up and applied it to both. Senate Bill 1804 is about human trafficking, a huge problem we have here in Florida. It makes the human sexual trafficking of a child under 12 or a mentally deficient adult a capital offense, punishable by death. Right now in Florida, we have two offenses punishable by death: murder in the first degree and adult rape of a child under 12. Now it looks like we're going to add sexual trafficking of a child under 12 or a mentally deficient adult. The last update is about the protests taking place throughout the United States. A few years ago, Florida modified their protesters law to protect citizens who find themselves in the midst of a protest. If you're there innocently driving through and they've shut down the road in front of you, the law is on your side. In this video here, I've explained what that law is and what your rights are. Check it out. Hit it hard. As a responsible citizen, taking the time to educate yourself and others about the current status of the law is part of your civic responsibility. Thank you for holding the line.